Welcome to the Pete White Show, Sunday night at 8 p.m. I'm back in the studio tonight, and tonight's show, the Pete White Show, is brought to you by Corleone Settlement Services. We will make you an offer you can't refuse. Now, this is the Valentine's Day edition of the Pete White Show here on Sunday, February the 8th, and Life After Divorce. I interviewed two experts this week, Ed Alexander and Jackie Walker, and we're going to go to their interviews that I did. I'm also going to read an email that I received, and stay tuned after their thoughts on Life After Divorce for my thoughts on Life After Divorce. Okay, here's Ed Alexander, our interview. This is the Pete White Show, Life After Divorce. I'm here in my living room in Old Lake Cumming Township with an expert on Life After Divorce, Ed Alexander. Ed, good to see you again.
Thanks, Pete.
Ed and I met at a class once. I was going through my divorce, and he helped me very much getting over, my divorce and getting through it and trying to make things positive. So, Ed, first of all, thanks for being with me today. And what can you tell the fellas out there about life after divorce?
It's fun. Pretty much you got to get yourself out there, and I'd give yourself a year, take a break. Then once you want to get out, get yourself out there and enjoy life. Go different places, such as gyms, restaurants, even if it's by yourself or with some friends. There's lots of places to meet people. There are people out there for you. Trust me, there's lots of them. You'll be picking and choosing. Pretty much just start to enjoy life and not sit at home and mope. You got to get out there, put yourself out there, and have fun. Do whatever it is you like to have fun.
Now, what do you tell the guys like myself that don't have movie star looks like you, that we have to rely on other things like charm and wit?
You got women like charm. They like honesty. For the most part, they just like to smile and laugh. If you can make them smile and laugh, they're gonna like you.
Right, and that's actually what helped me get over in my relationship was that Ed made me laugh every single time I went to see him. Seriously, we spent half the time laughing, and it was terrific. What about the internet? Do you have any advice on the internet?
Well, there's different dating sites you can go to. Like I say, different dating sites. You can go on there. You're definitely going to get dates. And then you just kind of weed out the bad ones and keep the good ones.
The main thing is not to mope around, though, right? Even go out by yourself sometimes?
Yeah, go out by yourself, enjoy yourself. I've done it. I went out by myself. You meet people when you go out. You do know people when you go out. Your friends will introduce you to people. It just happens. Don't look for it. It'll just happen. But as far as, go out and have fun, you meet somebody, have fun with them for the night, and then see what happens the next day.
Now, what about some things on the bright side, like when you're at home? Like, I know one of the bright things for me was no honey-do list. That I could actually relax on Sunday afternoon and watch football all day without having to worry about, fixing the dryer or those kind of things.
Yeah, take your days and just relax. Enjoy your day. If you want company, you can have company. If you don't want company, you don't need company. If you don't want to do nothing, don't do it. Simple as that. You don't have someone nagging at you. Single life, it's fun. It's enjoyable, but then there comes to a point, too, where sometimes you feel, maybe I do need somebody or want somebody, but in reality, you don't, because you can always pick your own company.
And you had mentioned to me before, isn't it true that you want to make sure you're good with yourself first?
Yeah, you got to get yourself, like you say, give yourself time. Go to the gym. That's something to do if you're sitting around or moping. Do something to get your mind off of things. And you'll even meet people at the gym. Don't mope around. Go do something.
I know, like the different places you mentioned, the gym, you mentioned restaurants, I assume bars,
bands, church, yep, anywhere, anything you like to do. I've just heard a story the other day that a guy went to Sturgis and met a girl. He was from Wansport, and he met a girl there that was from Wellsboro, and they've been seeing each other ever since. So you never know. It's a small world. You just never know.
And what about for women? What advice could you give to women out there?
do the same thing. You need to take time for yourself, and don't just don't jump back into a relationship because that isn't going to work. You need to take a year or two and get your wits to you and think about what you really want, and then go from there. But it's, yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about, parents that are having a divorce that have kids, younger kids. I mean, that's got to be worked out between the both of you. But as far as both parties, I mean, you just got to do the same things. Women seem to have an easier time with divorces than what men do, I feel. That they can kind of separate it and kind of let it in the background. Or men will dwell on it, which men don't need to dwell on it, because once you're separated or going through a divorce, it's over. So why bother keep trying?
And I remember one of the pieces of advice that you said was, don't beat yourself up thinking you did anything wrong. You just got to move on and have some fun.
Right. You got to enjoy life. You've been in a marriage for however long, and apparently towards the end it got miserable, so now you're free. Now you don't have that, so now go out and enjoy yourself. Go out and enjoy your life.
And I remember you telling me that, you deserve time to yourself and do the things that you like to do for a change. When if you had young children, you're doing things for your children. If you when you were married, you were doing things for your wife. That you had said, hey, it's time to do some things for you first.
Right, because then it's all about you. It's not about you and the wife and the kids. It's when you're alone, it's your time. You go out and do what you want.
Right.
Have fun. Enjoy life. Laugh, smile. And whatever comes along with it on your dates.
I agree with Ed. The most that I would say what I learned from him is, number one, have fun. Number two, enjoy yourself. And definitely laugh and smile, because let's face it, as I've said all the time, that life is about putting smiles on people's faces. And of course, in Williamsport, we are family. Ed, thank you very much. Hopefully that helps you people to work with life after divorce. Thanks for your time, Ed, and thanks for your advice. I appreciate it in my own life, and then hopefully for all my viewers.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm back here in my living room on the Pete White Show with Life After Divorce, and I have another guest here. We want to get a new perspective. This is Jackie Walker, who is the director of Women in Pumps. And it's nice to have you here today, Jackie.
Thank you.
And first of all, Jackie, why don't you tell us a little about your group, Women in Pumps?
Okay, sure. First, I just want to ask you to excuse me because my voice is a little hoarse. But just to tell you a little bit about Walking in Pumps, it's a women's empowerment group that is basically encouraging women to walk in their purpose, uniqueness, motivation, positivity, and sisterhood. Just encouraging all women to be empowered in whatever they do in their lives.
Okay, very good. And so everyone knows, Jack and I met through LinkedIn and a business website, and I asked her what Walking in Pumps was. And then when it came time for Life After Divorce, I figured what better way to get perspective from, we already had perspective from the men's side. Of course, I'm a man, so we wanted to get the women's side as well. So I guess the most important question we'll get to right away is, tell us what you think should go on with Life After Divorce.
Life after divorce. Okay, life after divorce, I think it's just really knowing that life goes on. I'll say one thing that I learned after being divorced about marriage that helped me through my divorce is they both take forgiveness. I think in your marriage, if you're not able to forgive that person on a daily basis, it'll fail. And I believe after divorce, if you're not able to forgive your mate or whoever you were married to, it'll fail also. It's just about forgiving, letting go of petty things, small victories, being the bigger person, especially if you have kids, and just essentially letting go of things so that you can move on in a positive direction. It's all about being better, not bitter, in my opinion.
Okay, my previous guest, Ed Alexander, we didn't talk much about children because when he got divorced, his children were already grown up. They were in their 20s. So I guess right now would be a good time to ask you about, how do you handle the children? Like, what's your advice about handling the children in life after divorce?
In regards to handling children, my child is very young. He's 3, so just in terms of everything, I have to be a little bit more protective just in regards to who I let in my life because it affects him as well. So in terms of dating and all those different things, I feel like basically from the male perspective, it may be a little bit different if they're not the custodial parent because, when you have a kid with you, you just have to be careful about who you let into your life because it doesn't just affect you, it affects them too.
That makes a lot of sense. And how about the relations with the other parent? you have any advice for the relations with the other parent when it comes to the children?
Just trying to see eye to eye. Things aren't always easy. Just in the matter of being truthful, I'll say I think it's natural to go through periods of almost hating the other person, being upset, especially when there are kids involved, because when you have kids together, it's such a bond that you do have to communicate with that person. You do have to interact with that person. So I think there's a struggle there sometimes, and you just have to do things that are mature, be mature in that sense. And I think even though when it's hard and your heart hasn't necessarily caught up with, the acts of doing the right thing, just keep doing the right thing, and eventually your heart will, keep up to that, and forgiveness will help you move on.
And would you recommend seeking out support groups?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's very important to have support. That's actually one of the reasons that I moved back to Williamsport. I was living in another city and, with a small child and going through a divorce. If you don't have the support, it's a lot more difficult. So support is definitely something I would encourage everybody to do.
And so you hope that the family's going to pitch in?
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Ed. What advice can you give to people that don't have movie star looks like you and Ed do, when it comes to dating, like the more common person like myself, that has to rely on things like wit and charm?
Thank you for that compliment, first of all. I just think in terms of dating, I feel like if you perceive it that I'm beautiful, I really appreciate that. But I feel like when people are considered more attractive, it's a harder time because you have a lot of people approaching you and you don't necessarily know who's genuine or who's not. So I think you just have to take it slow, heal from the divorce, take your time, and just get to know somebody. Be friends first and then see where it goes. And then see if they're able, if they're even, fit to introduce to your child, and then take it that way. That's the way that I would approach it.
And what about like the newfangled way to date with the internet? Do you have any advice for people that get on the internet?
Don't do anything with people meet at the end of it. Like blackpeoplemeet.com, singleparentmeet.com. They are the sorriest dating websites. But besides that, I don't really have any advice. I just know I did try those, and they were not so good.
And how this will be more of a personal question, but when you meet somebody for the first time, what would you say is the best way to meet for someone who's who has a young child and is already and has been divorced? Like when you meet somebody new.
I am a big fan of meeting people through friends or through just through mutual friends. I'm not really big fan on new people that I don't know anything about or don't have any way to really justify their character or anything like that. So I'm a big fan of that, mutually being introduced to people through other parties that you know.
So doing something in groups rather than one-on-one.
Yeah, or even, if somebody, say for instance, if a family member or somebody, knows of somebody that they think may be a good guy, I'd be more likely to talk to somebody that way to see where it goes than just any random person.
And one thing Ed mentioned is that he thought that women dealt with divorce better than men. So I wanted to get your perspective on that.
I disagree. I think even biblically, if you look at things, women take more time to process things and move on, just in regards to anything tragic. And when you talk about marriage and divorce is a death in a sense. You're losing a whole part of history, a part of yourself, and I think that women they take more time to move on. In my case, in particularly, my ex was actually married within 6 months of being divorced. So I would say men move on quicker.
And lastly, I just want to ask you one. I want to ask you one last question, and that is what do walking in pumps? Is there any way you can help women that are going through divorces or women that are, life after divorce in terms of, give you a chance to let us know what you can do for people, because I know it's a support group for women, an empowerment group. So what can Walking in Pumps do for women? How can they contact you?
Walking in Pumps does a lot for women. Actually, today we had an event here in town at the Hampton Inn where we focused on self-esteem. Self-esteem, can be affected in many different ways. It can be affected from other people. It can be affected through life circumstances that you go through, divorce being one of them. So today, we had some women in there that were dealing with that actual thing. The way that you could contact us is the best way would be through the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/walkinginpumps or walkinginpumps@gmail.com.
All right, very good. Jackie, thank you very much.
Thank you so
It's nice to
much.
finally meet you in
Nice
person.
to meet
I know
you
we
too.
met on LinkedIn.com.
Yep.
And thank you for your time. And I hope this helps you women out there and men about advice about life after divorce. And as I always like to say, Jackie, welcome back to Williamsport, because Williamsport, we are family.
Thank you.
Okay, back up live on the Pete White Show, and I just want to read a Facebook notification I got here from a Diane in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and she says, "All I have to say about divorce is it is good if the man you married did not love you to begin with. The day after my honeymoon, my husband told our friends that he didn't want to be married to me. He then proceeded to tell me that he was not making love to me and had no intentions. I stayed in that marriage for 14 years out of religious beliefs. I begged him for affection, and he could not even put his arms around me. He was a gambler, controlling, and I had no say if I could even open a window, turn up the heat, or if I brought home the wrong grocery bags from the store. Non-stop yelling. He ran around with a white glove checking the house cleaning. To live in a house where there is no love, you cannot survive and be healthy. It was freedom to me, and the chains broke off. I had no regrets, but only for my 2 children, that they could not have a loving family. In my second marriage, I really didn't know the person I married. A lot of secrets were kept. I would say, look at the home he or she came from, and how did their parents love each other. Blended families are most difficult. Sometimes I think if you can make it on your own, there is much freedom in doing things you want to do when you want to do it, and see who you want to see. There are no limits as a single person, and no demands or expectations. Holidays are tough being single, though, if your family is not around. Pros and cons to marriage, but I would say marry your best friend and have fun and let each other grow the way you would meant to grow as a person. Never stay in a marriage where there is abuse. It will rob you of your life and of yourself." That is all I have to say about the subject. And that was Diane from Williamsport. Thank you very much, Diane. Okay, now my thoughts on life after divorce. First of all, I definitely agree with Ed that you got to have some fun and you got to help people. And I know there's a song I like to listen to, and it says, "Love the one you're with." And, to help people and have fun, you definitely need to love the one you're with. As Diane said, one good thing about being single or not being, life after divorce is you have freedom to do what you want to do. There's no more honey-do lists, no more watching the kids sleep. You can get out and do stuff. No more walking on thin ice, wondering if your spouse, what she thinks or wants you to do. No more Gloria Estefan or Tina Turner concerts. You can go see the Stones. You can go see the comedian like Lisa Lampanelli. You can watch TV any time of the day. You don't have to worry about what you're watching. You can watch 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory, SUV any time of the day. You can go to bed at 7 p.m. if you want to, if you're tired or sick, with no one bothering you or nagging you. You can meet people in restaurants, bars, sporting events, church, any kind of entertainment that you like. So there are definitely some advantages, and it's nice to get to meet new people. I think that's always a positive thing, and especially around Williamsport, you can meet. The more people you get to meet, the more people you can help. Now I'm going to open the lines here to text Pete Straight 570-244-6600 on any topic. Once again, text Pete Straight 570-244-6600. Got my first text here. It's from Henry, and it says, "I would like to know how to deal with a child of divorce after you explain to them and the other parent is bashing your name to the child." Well, Henry, first of all, I'm not Dr. Phil. I just was having people give their comments about life after divorce. But I will say this: parents should not be bashing your former spouse to your children. That is definitely not appropriate. However, on the other hand, I suppose you're allowed to say and do whatever you want to do. My advice would be just to keep it positive about the parents, just like Jackie said, and try to move on there and do the best you can. Here's another one from Joanna. "How can two people who swear till death do us part become bitter enemies in a matter of days, weeks, and months?" That's a very good question, because I thought when I got married that I made my vows for a lifetime, and apparently one person can just leave that marriage anytime they want. So I'm not really sure how that occurs. Once again, I'd say check with Dr. Phil or a specialist on something like that. Okay, here's Robin. "With all my friends on their second, third, and fourth marriages, can you give me hope that I should try it for the first time one day. Robin, all I can tell you is this. Try to find somebody who has charm and wit. That always worked for me. I'm not saying I recommend I'm for marriage or against marriage, but I am saying this, that if, your marriage ends, there is life after divorce. Believe me. It can be a lot of fun. You can meet a lot of new people, a lot of good people, do some traveling, have less responsibility when the children aren't with you. I'm not recommending one way or the other. I'm just telling you that whatever you do in life, try to, be happy, smile, laugh. Okay, we still have time for a couple more. Text Pete Straits on any subject, 570-244-6600. Okay, while we're waiting for some text, I'm going to move on to the civics lesson. Oh, I'm sorry, one more. What are you doing yourself now that you are not in a relationship? I'm not in a marriage relationship, so I'm just trying to meet people, I guess. Like I said, that's the best thing to do is to have fun. I mean, Ed helped me through my divorce. Try to keep a positive attitude. Don't mope around. And the best thing about it is you can do whatever you want to do. So if you want to go to a restaurant, go to a restaurant. If you want to go to a bar, go to a bar. If you want to go to sleep, go to sleep. I mean, you don't have to walk on eggshells worrying about what someone else is thinking. Now to our civics lesson 101. First of all, the most important thing I've taught so far is make sure you register and vote. Pete the Repeat, get a priority right now to get out there. If you're not registered, and register. Check tomorrow to make sure you're registered to vote. Call the voter registration office of Lycoming County if you don't know, and make sure you're registered to vote. And if you're not registered, get out there and register. Okay? Also, as I said last week, help thy neighbor, because Williamsport, we are family. And then this week, one of my very good friends was in a car accident, and as he was talking to the policeman on the sideline, it was a single car accident, another car drove by too fast and slammed into the police car and to his car, which his son was sitting in a car seat. So I know this isn't necessarily civics, but I do want to tell you this. Please drive slowly and arrive safely, especially in bad weather. I know tonight we're expecting some bad weather, some freezing rain that turns into snow tomorrow. So help thy neighbor, drive slowly, and arrive safely, especially on an emergency scene. Make sure you're driving very slowly so that nobody else gets hurt. Okay. That's our very brief kind of civics lessons today. But once again, make sure that you register to vote. Register to vote. Make it a priority tomorrow. And then make sure you vote in the primary in May. Now, sponsors and advertisers, call my producer, Steven, 570-244-6600, or text him Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If you want to be a sponsor or advertiser for the show or for the Pete White Show Facebook page, make sure you like the Pete White Show Facebook page. There's been over 6,000 views for last week's show. So those of you out there that want some advertising, please let us know. And as I said, tonight's show is brought to you by Corleone Settlement Services. We'll make an offer you can't refuse. Okay, now a couple shout-outs. My paisans in Brooklyn, I'll see you this weekend. H Block, Totally Mental. Of course, Williamsport Proud. Coach Cruz, the Williamsport Area High School football program. I was very impressed with your news conference that I attended, Coach Cruz. Put those words into action, we should be in good shape. Also, don't forget, get on the Pete White Show Facebook page to agree with the Diggs position so that Christian Diggs can play from Game 1 next year for Loyalsock Township High School. There's no reason why he shouldn't be playing the first game next year. Holding him out of a game makes no sense at all. So let's sign that petition. Give me your thoughts on the Pete White Show Facebook page. And of course, any of you out there that are O positive blood type, I do have my teammate and very best friend from high school, Jim Mexdorf in Albany, New York, needs a kidney. If anybody out there is willing to go through the testing that needs done, please contact my producer, Steven, at our telephone number, 570-244-6600. Okay, now I promised Steven today that I would stick to half an hour, so I'm going to check real quick to see if we had any more. Oh, Charlie Bennett. Gotta say a shout out to Charlie Bennett that's watching the Pete White Show live. Thanks for the picture. I appreciate it very much. And I promised my producer Steven today that I would stick within the half an hour time period. So we're going to go right to the outro here, and that is next week's show, which is Sunday, February the 15th. We are going to go with Williamsport City Government, the mayor, the police department, and city council. And we may have some PSU breaking news next week. Please tune in at 8 o'clock next Sunday night. And as I always say to you young people out there, happy are those who dream great dreams and are willing to work hard enough to make them come true. Think about that very carefully. Happy are those who dream great dreams and are willing to work hard enough to make them come true. Okay, and once again, as I always say, Williamsport, we are family.